Why don't caramelized onions taste like caramel? Because caramel has totally different ingredients, mostly not onion. It's straight cooked sugar. Caramelized onions, just the bit of sugar in the onion is caramelized, plus the rest of the onion is in there. Think roasted garlic, one of the greatest things ever, still tastes like garlic, but mellowed, and really, it's caramelized garlic. Caramelized garlic and onions, and sun-dried tomatoes. Some fresh basil, and you have the beginnings of the best pizza ever. Really good mozz or smoked provolone. A nice olive oil, make a paste of the garlic, sun-dried tomatoes, and olive oil, add some salt and pepper to taste, spread on the crust, top with cheese and some basil and bake it. Wow, that is good stuff. The enhanced flavor of the paste instead of a tomato sauce, even though sauce would have all that, the depth of flavor is amazing. You can't mess it up, you make it to look and taste. It's a food of love. Various foods contain multiple flavor nodes. Sugar offers one, sweetness. In order to develop richer flavors in sugar, we brown it, not as in brown sugar but as in cooking, which causes it to melt and eventually cool and recombine as a rather sticky stretchable material we choose to call caramel. Caramel refers to the process of caramelization of sugars as they are exposed to heat and browned, which adds another flavor node in addition to sweetness. Foods of all kinds contain sugars. Some are simple sugars, carbohydrates called monosaccharides, while others contain complex sugars, carbohydrates we call monosaccharides or disaccharide depending on their chemical makeup. Vegetables are usually classified as simple complex, while bread and pasta and their kind are complex carbohydrates. When we expose vegetables, onions, to heat, their sugars begin to caramelize. The sugars brown and add a richness to their flavor. Because the sugars in the vegetables are not the same as refined sugar, their flavor will not be the same. What's different in this type of caramelization is that the vegetable has a number of flavor nodes of its own, and the caramelization blends with those flavors to produce unique complex flavors that were unrealized before the vegetable was exposed to the direct heat source. I'm not an authority, but I'd like to take a guess. My guess is that slow roasting any veggies with a sugar content is a process. That process is called caramelization. If you take a Brussels sprout and caramelize the sugars in it, it still isn't always will be a Brussels sprout. If you caramelize the sugars in granulated sugar, it becomes caramelized sugar, with cream added and maybe butter, and it isn't always will be caramel. You can change the ingredient out for another, but it's not going to taste like caramel if it's a Brussels sprout. Anybody? Is that a close assessment? Because caramel is not a name, it is a process. The sweet we know as caramel is really caramelized milk. Milk, heated slowly for a long time until it browns and sweetens. So caramelized onions are the same thing. Heated slowly until they brown and sweeten. In the process of caramelizing something, you are browning it and breaking down the sugars, which changes the flavor. This makes the onions taste sweet. In the case of actual caramel, you are browning and liquefying actual sugar. That is why the onions don't taste exactly like caramel. Caramelized onions are when the larger sugar molecules in onions are broken down into smaller, simple sugar molecules. Sugar starts to counteract against the taste of onions, but something that is pungent in flavor when caramelized isn't going to taste as sweet as something that is already sweet that is being caramelized. It wouldn't make any sense if it did. Caramelization is the browning of sugars, so actual caramel is pretty much only sugar, maybe some cream, so that is the major flavor. Onions have much less sugar and have a strong flavor of their own, so that onion flavor takes the driver's seat.